What is up, YouTube? This is Hypergon, your chat with the cat, back again for another video. Now, I realize that it is indeed Friday, and normally I only upload on Tuesdays and Thursdays. However, this felt kind of urgent and something I needed to do right now. Now, a friend of mine sent me a list, a ban list. Unfortunately, not the official Konami ban list, but something called an ARG ban list. Now, I wasn't sure what this meant originally, but it turns out it's just a ban list created by Alter Reality Games. They also distribute cards and are known to do a few tournaments. They have a few set up themselves, which is why they have decided, since they're tired like the rest of us for waiting on Konami, that they are going to make their own ban list, which they have now revealed to the public. Now, again, this is not the official Konami ban list, so don't take this as an indication of what Konami might do, but rather, this could be a hint as to what we could expect. I mean, these guys do host their own tournaments, so in theory, they do have the same mindset as Konami, minus the financial aspect of it. So, it could still be worth looking into. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started on the July 7th ARG ban list. Okay, so starting things off, we're going to look at what they have under their banned section. So first off, we have Jin, Releaser of Rituals. As many of you know, this is a card that was causing a lot of problems for everyone. Whether you were facing off against Necroz or mirror matching against Necroz, this was an infuriating card that could essentially shut down the game at a moment's notice. So I am quite happy to see that this card is banned in their eyes and just as good as gone. Next up, we have Fusion Gate. What? Well, I know that's weird, and we'll get back to that in a little bit, so just hold on to that. Next up is Lavolval Chain. Okay. I mean, I can kind of see why, as they go on later to explain the reason for banning the Lavolval Chain is actually because it adds too much consistency to certain decks, one of which being Infernities. Didn't realize they were still a threat, but okay. Next up, we have Necroz of Trishula, a card that many of us are happy to see gone. It looks like these guys really do not care for the Necroz decks. Not that I'm complaining, I feel like they need a good slap in the face. So, next up we have Royal Magical Library. This is something that kind of just recently became an issue, primarily because of Exodia decks and things like Chicken Run, or Chicken Race, whatever it was, the chicken card. But this card was just causing all kinds of problems, and Magical Royal Library just added so much consistency to it, it was just infuriating to deal with, so that's gone. And finally for the ban section is Vanity's Emptiness. I personally don't see why this needed to be banned. I feel like it's fine at 1. It's not like it's that difficult to counter. It was just annoying trying to counter it 3 times. Once is fine. I have no issue with it, but as it is, apparently that is still too much, so whatever. Now moving on to the limited section, or restricted to 1 as they've listed it, we have Sir Malbrant of the Burning Abyss. I'm not gonna lie, guys, I don't pay much attention to Burning Abyss. I don't know what Sir does. I'm assuming he's one of the ones that special summons from somewhere, be it the deck, hand, or graveyard. I don't know where, I don't care where. I can understand why, just because I have a decent enough idea on how Burning Abyss works, and it drives me crazy too, so I can understand that. Next up, we have some Shaddoll hits, namely El Shaddoll Construct and El Shaddoll Fusion. With the emergence of the new, God, what are those things called? The Star Seraphs, that's it. With Star Seraphs being out, they have become essentially the new meta face of Shaddolls. And I cannot stand them because they're just too good in my opinion. So to see them banning Construct, or not banning, limiting Construct, which is honestly the biggest problem that they had, I can totally see, I understand it completely. And with El Shaddoll Fusion, I always felt that Shaddoll Fusion by itself was more of an issue just because of its ability to get materials from the deck. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and act like a quick play, you know, fusion spell is not busted as hell. So, I understand that one entirely. Next up, we have Elemental Hero Bubble Man. Wait, what? And wait, is that? honestly can't believe what I'm looking at. They actually brought Stratos back. Oh my god. That's amazing. Alright, well, I don't think I need to say anything more on that. Moving on. Although, to actually go back to that real quick, this is the reason why we have Fusion Gate Band and Bubbles at 1. Because it helps kind of validate bringing back Stratos without breaking the heroes. Though, that's more Alter Reality's perspective on it. Personally, I don't really think either needed to be hit, or at least not as hard as they did. Fusion Gate was really only a problem because of Elemental Hero The Shining, and most people now use the Masked Heroes, so while Shining was once a threat, and I'm not saying he's not anymore, he has now ultimately been replaced by Dark Law as the main go-to E-Hero Fusion, and you can't even use Fusion Gate to get him, so I can kind of see where they're coming from, but ultimately I don't think it's that big of a deal. And Bubbles, I can understand why he had some consistency, but if you're going to hit him, I would have honestly said 2. But, again, this is their list. I don't think that's likely to happen, but hey, Stratos. Can't argue with that. Anywho, moving on, we have Instant Fusion. Not really an issue now, however, with Nodin on the horizon, this is more of a preemptive hit that I don't really think anyone can argue with. Whether you face someone using Nodin or have used Nodin yourself, me being the latter, you can know that Nodin is a cheap piece of crap, and honestly, the world is probably better off without him. But, hey, I still like him, so whatever. Next up is Mistake, just one of many Floodgate cards that has ultimately seen the bitch slap on the ban list, so just add that to the list. Next up, we have Necros of Unicorn, because let's face it, they have not yet been hit hard enough just yet. We need to keep smacking the hell out of him for a little bit. And finally, Wind-Up Carrier Zenmagi, one of many other cards that truly did need to come back just to give an old deck a chance to be again. Wind-Ups, I understand, did used to be a problem, but now, honestly, even with their loop, I don't see them being a big deal. So, welcome back, Zenmagi. Can't really say I missed you, but I'm sure many did. Okay, moving on to the final part of the list, or second half of it, I guess. We have the Semi-Limited, or Limited 2. First up, Dante. I can totally see why this is. Honestly, I probably would have put it at 1, though many would argue that that would make the deck completely unplayable. To me, that's just kind of a better option. I honestly can't say that I feel like Dante's, any safer at 2, because really all you honestly need are the 2, because then you can just recycle them indefinitely. Anyway, moving on, we have... What? I swear, you guys are going to give me a goddamn heart attack by the end of this. Okay, so Ravine is also now apparently at 2 in these guys' eye. The reason they say is because with the ruler's gone, this card is honestly not a threat and only serves to help communities, which I am in full support of, but at the same time, oh my god. Anyway, I don't really have anything more to say on that one. Moving on. Also at 2, we now have Inzektor Hornet, something that definitely did need to happen to kind of give Inzektors a little bit of a boost, and with Dragonfly still being way too dangerous to move it any further down the ban list, and Hornet was the obvious choice, especially since so many decks, quote-unquote, don't care about destruction anymore. Next up is Rescue Rabbit, finally being put to 2. He unfortunately wasn't really very useful at 1, so this is the next best thing for him. I don't really see him coming back to 3 anytime soon, just because Dino Rabbit was still a thing, and can still be a thing, but honestly, this is kind of a safe place for it to be. It actually kind of encourages people to try out Rescue Rabbit instead of just kind of fearing it, which I am all for. I feel like Rescue Rabbit is kind of a cool card, not too terribly broken, just opens up some nice Xyz plays. Next up is Summoner's Art, because apparently Clees are still a thing, and we need to be taken care of. But it can also arguably somewhat preemptive with the emergence of the Ignites, since they do have 2 of them. There's also the normal pendulums, namely the Dragoons, which do use some higher level normal monsters for their pendulums. So it is still kind of a relevant card to hit, but I feel like this is more just kind of being scared of something that's not as big of a threat anymore, or preemptive. I don't know. Next up is Torrential Tribute to 2, which is pretty cool, I must say. I always felt like the one-of staples, some of them could come back up. Bottomless definitely cannot. It is still too good of a card. However, Torrential is kind of good because it doesn't hit pendulums too hard, but it does still kind of give us some of that mass destruction, and with things like Raigeki and Dark Hole being around, what's one more mass field wipe, honestly. And finally, to kind of complement Zenmagi from earlier, we have Wind Up Magician back up to 2. anything to kind of bring old decks back, I am all for. It's not like it's still a threat anymore, so welcome back, Wind Up Magician. And finally, for the unlimited section, Aura cards of 3. We have Chaos Sorcerer, because honestly, who cares? No one really uses them that much. VLS is a much bigger threat. Dark Hole, if you can believe it. So with that, that would give us 1 Raigeki, 3 Dark Holes, and 2 Torrential Tributes for a grand total of 6 field wipes if you max out your deck with these Mass Destruction spell cards. Oh, and Trap. But, just, damn. Next up we have 3 glow-up bulbs. Okay. I mean, it's not like glow-up bulbs are going to be that much bigger of a threat at 3. Honestly, I still don't see many people running them any higher than 1 because, well, what are you going to do with him? His effect can only be used once per duel, so it's not like you can really abuse it or anything, but it's still kind of cool to see that, you know. We do need some more easily accessible level 1 tuners in this game, just for some more advanced synchro plays, if you will. And finally, Sacred Sword of 7 stars has been put to 3 because, quite honestly, with the rulers gone, who the hell cares? And that's all I got for you guys this time. Now, again, just to remind you guys, this is not official. This is just Ultra Reality's thing for the series of tournaments they have coming up. So this is them just kind of being preemptive in response to Konami taking their time in developing a appropriate ban list, and actually, for once, seeming to care about us. I will be sure to give you the official Konami ban list when that comes out, but this is something to just kind of whet our appetites until then, because they haven't given us an official date on when to expect it. All they said was soon, and in the span of business time, that could mean a month from now, for all we know. So, just something to kind of keep us satisfied until then. Who knows? This might actually be pretty close. This may end up being very similar, if not identical, unlikely, to the list that Konami will give us. So, with that being said, that's all I have for you guys this time. Let me know what you guys think down below. Is this a good list? Is this a bad list? There's some cards that are unlikely to happen. For me, I think the Volval Chain is a little much to just ban it all at once, but if we can get Snatch Steel back for a format, I can't exactly say that's unreasonable. Let me know if you think these guys missed anything, if you agree with Ultra Reality or not. Of course, don't also forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and like my page on Facebook. And until next time, peace.